What's up, Penguins fans? Happy Sunday. Well, this will be Monday by the time that you listen to this one. The Penguins' 7-game winning streak came to an end on Sunday evening with a 3-2 loss to the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm going to be joined by Kat Hunter, one of the very famous people from Hurricanes Twitter, to break it all down. This was another very good game between the Penguins and the Hurricanes. So that's all coming up right after this drop.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can also follow the show's Twitter at, LO Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. As you all can see, I am not in my office right now. Back in Pittsburgh where the lighting is so much better. I am down in my mom's house where the basement is, where the lighting is just, it's not the greatest. But, that'll be this for this episode. And then the other two this week, they will be in my room where I guess the lighting is maybe a little bit better, but not really. But joining me now is Kat. This is the first time you have come on the Locked On Penguins podcast. Kat Hunter, one of the very famous people from Hurricanes Twitter, I think is my way to describe you. But, you're also a very good content creator, and I figured, it'd be great to recap one of these games just because they're playing each other so often these last 2 weeks. But, Kat, really appreciate you jumping on to, recap this game with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I guess I'm a little bit famous. I got put on the Jumbotron tonight, and a lot of people were like, "We saw you," and I was like, "Oh, this is embarrassing." But
so that's right. Yeah, you were at the game down in Raleigh. It looked like there was a decent amount of Penguins fans there. I mean, they always travel well, I would say, down in Raleigh. But another really close game. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, we like to say they live in Cary, so they don't have a long drive. So.
Hey, the Steelers just played the Panthers in Charlotte, so they were hoping for the Pittsburgh was hoping for the clean sweep today. Did not happen, but I always know that the Penguins, they travel pretty well down to Raleigh. But another game between these two teams, another 1-goal loss for the Penguins. But, I think it was a game that was kind of a 50-50, if you ask me. These two teams have played two really tight games this season. In my opinion, I think the Penguins were just really dumbed down by just some goaltending issues with the first couple of goals. From your perspective, how did you see the game, and how do you think Carolina was able to just come out on top with this one?
Yeah. So honestly, we're coming off a back-to-back. This was our second of the back-to-back, and it's tiring. Like, we've been going for a long stretch. And so I think we just had to really weather that first period. You guys were killing us that first period. We had some of our pushes, but honestly, you guys outshot us, which is not really common for anyone that plays Carolina. If you look, like, even games that we're losing, we normally outshoot our opponents, and you guys were, it was that Pittsburgh pressure that I've grown up watching. I remember back in, we call it the dark years, but I remember going to games when we play the Pens, and the pressure that the team just gave on us. I love it when we do it to other teams. When we play the Pens, I hate it because it comes back at us a lot. But honestly, it was just us getting through that first period, finding our feet again, and then just getting back to how the Canes play hockey.
Yeah, the Penguins, you're right. They did come out. They played really well in those first 10 to 15 minutes. They were taking it to them. And Carolina, that's usually not the case because their underlyings are very good. They can outskate most teams, I think, in the league. But the Penguins were taking it to them. But then Carolina pushed back. You didn't really, I couldn't realize at times that they were playing on a back-to-back. To be honest, it looked like they were pretty fresh out there. But you were right. They were able to weather that storm. They got that first goal in the second. Penguins were able to tie it, then get that goal in the third. And then I think Carolina just outplayed them for a little bit. For the rest of that third period, they were able to tie it and then get that game winner. Honestly, from a Penguins perspective, I can't be too upset about that loss just because they'd won 7 straight, 12 out of 14. I wouldn't say you're playing with house money, but I think you've earned a game where Sometimes, losses happen. And I know this is a really tough stretch coming up with the Penguins. They play the Rangers on Tuesday. They play Carolina at home. I'll be there for that one. I'm looking forward to that. They play the Devils coming up. They play Boston, Vegas. So, they have to run the gauntlet here. But, overall, I don't really have too many complaints about the Penguins from this game. Like, I thought, if you look at, the underlyings, as I love going to Natural Stat Trick. I think it's one of my favorite sites. The Penguins had, it was about 50-50 in terms of shot attempts, scoring chances, almost 50-50. The Penguins, though, had a bit more of the high danger chances. But, it's funny. Hockey, a lot of these games between two great teams, they're 50-50s. One team wins, the one other team loses. It stinks that the Penguins have been on the wrong side of it. But, that's what happens sometimes. I think overall, Kat, this was just a game between two very good hockey teams, just like we saw a few weeks ago. And I said this on my Twitter. I think you can sign me up for 7 games between these two teams in the playoffs because they haven't played since 2000.
This was the matchup in the last playoffs. We got the Rangers. Yeah. This was the matchup I wanted in the last playoffs. This is what I wanted. I was like, give me the Pens. I know it'll be a hard fought game. I thought we play very similar styles at times. Can't stand the Rangers. So I'd much rather play the Pens any day. And I honestly, even like you were saying, even if we had lost this game, I mean, it would have hurt because we were at home and I was right there. And I thought we were playing really well. And we've kind of got back into our stride because we had a little slump in November. But honestly, if we had ended up either going into OT like we did the first game, or if we had ended up losing, I wouldn't have been so upset because it was such an evenly matched game. And I think both teams just played really, really well. It was this time we got a couple more lucky bounces and honestly just had a little bit more pressure there at the end. But again, I mean, you guys pulled the goalie and we were at the end and I was scared.
Yeah, I mean, the Penguins, they don't usually have a lot of 6-on-5 goals. I'll be the first to say that. That was the one that they scored a few weeks ago on the Hurricanes. That was their first one all season, first one since I don't even remember the last time they did it last season. That's just how rare it is. It just does not happen very often. But no, like I definitely agree. In the end, I said this at the beginning. Excuse me. I really do think it came down to I'm going to use his nickname, so don't get mad, everybody. Coochie. I don't care. I'm gonna say that's his nickname. That's why I'm gonna call him.
That's what people chant at the rink. So
great. It's a great nickname.
I mean, now that Rod says it, it's kind of stuck.
And he played a really good game, and it was a curious decision by the Penguins to start Casey DeSmith. I would not have done it. I think DeSmith has been fine this season, but when you're starting a stretch here against some really good teams, especially in the Eastern Conference, and I want the number one guy going because Tristan Jarry, he's been on a heater as of late, 10-0-2 in his last 12 starts, basically a .940 save percentage, goals against average a little over 2. He's playing very well, so that's why I was just very confused as to why he didn't go, and I didn't really see a quote from Mike Sullivan after the game about it. I would have to maybe guess it's workload management, something like that. But I would assume he'll be in the game on Thursday. But it was just a curious decision, just especially because the Hurricanes were only 2 points up on the Penguins at that time, and I feel like you got to put the best team out there in this kind of game, even if it's late December, basically.
Yeah, I would have felt the same if we had. I mean, he played last night, so I wouldn't have expected because Rod doesn't really do back-to-backs with goalies. Yeah. But I would have felt the same way if we played Ranta, just because Piotr has been on. The kid's come up and been our number one. Anderson's been hurt. I still think even when he comes back, I think it'll be a really interesting conversation for us on who our goaltenders are going to be. Because obviously one's more flexible, but he is the hot goalkeeper for us right now. So I was excited that he was playing against the Pens because honestly, I would take him up against Crosby instead of Ranta.
Yeah, he's played well in the 2 meetings against him this season. He hasn't really allowed any bad goals from what I can recall. And it's funny, they started Ranta in all the games last season against against Pittsburgh, excuse me, and he played well against them too. So, the Penguins haven't really seen Freddie Anderson, even when he's been healthy these last couple of seasons, which is interesting because, he had that great season last year. I know he's banged up right now, but, they've been seeing a lot of, I guess 1B, 1C goalies, but, with, Cucci right now, he is playing really well. And I'm sure he's going to start on Thursday. But that does it for this opening segment. Coming up in the next segment, I'm going to get Kat's thoughts on just some of the goals that Carolina scored and just what was the difference with that Jordan Staal goal. Old friend Jordan Staal, of course, for all you Penguins fans listening to this. But before we get to that, our next partner has a product I use literally every day. I start taking Athletic Greens because, sometimes I didn't have time in the morning. I wanted more energy when I'd be waking up. Hate taking pills and vitamins, all that stuff. So you're probably wondering, what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you'll be absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, and probiotics to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery focused, all of those things. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free. Supports better sleep quality and recovery. It also supports mental clarity and alertness. It's the one thing with the best things. It also costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit, and it has over 7,000 five-star reviews. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. And that's it. There's no need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, we're back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am Hunter Hodes. You can follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. That is Cat Hunter of Hurricanes Twitter. So obviously it'd be easy for me, Cat, to just say, okay, Casey Smith let in a couple howlers. Thank you so much for listening. But, we have to fill some time here. There obviously were other things that led to the Penguins losing this game rather than Casey Smith giving up a couple goals that he probably should have had. One of which was, as I teased coming in here, old friend Jordan Staal. He has, I wouldn't say he's killed the Penguins over the years, but he has made his presence felt. I believe tonight was his 5th goal. I believe that I saw that from AT&T Sports, and it was his 5th goal against the Penguins in his career. Big one, won the game, and it was a typical Jordan Staal goal. I've seen him score that kind of goal numerous times when he was a Penguin when I was a kid. Just parks his big butt right in the front of the crease, out muscles whoever's there, and he gets a tap. And, poor Trevor Riedel, he's been pretty good when he's played this season, but when you're going up against Staal, you're not going to win that matchup most times. What did you see on that goal? Because from my vantage point, it looked like it was a fan shot from the point. Penguins probably should have had the clear, didn't know how to do it and didn't do enough. And then they're able to get that cross ice pass to Staal. And again, Rubido just had no chance, but wanted to know what you saw from that one.
Yeah, so I was actually fortunate, like you said, I was at the game. I was actually fortunate to be on the end that the Hurricanes shoot twice, and I was 4 rows up from the glass, so I actually got to see all the goals, and they were very interesting. Yeah, so with the Jordan goal and also the one that he got to Shea at the end, honestly, it was just him hustling. He got down at the end, what he normally does. He traps the puck, wins the board battles, and again, like you said, like kind of out muscles. And then, yeah, he just got the puck back to Shazy. I couldn't tell if it was a shot or if it was supposed to be like a pass and you get like a tip in or anything. But then with his line mates, with Quickie and with Martin, like it was just like a scuffle. They play really gritty. So honestly, they prosper out of chaos. And so, yeah, it went to Shazy. It got across the goal while DeSmith was focused on that. Yeah, Jordo had kind of camped at the top, and when the loose puck came over to him, he just tapped it in before anyone had a chance to really defend against him. So yeah, and the same with the last goal was he was able to battle it, win it, and get it back to our shot from the point as well. So he did a lot of hustling plays today, which is what he's known for. Like he's not a big goal scorer. You gave that stats on him scoring against the Penguins. He doesn't score that much against a lot of people. He's just he's consistent. He works really hard every game, makes his line mates play better. Like whoever's on his line, honestly, like last year it was him, Nino, and Quickie. Mm-hmm. This year they've gotten Martinook instead of Nino, and now Martinook's the top scorer. Just like Nino had a bunch of goals last season. So honestly, it's just a lot of praise to our captain that I know a lot of people were concerned, not this season, but last season he had a big slump of like not getting goals, which of course he's not a big goal scorer, but like nothing was going in. And now this year he's starting off a lot better. So yeah, I'd say a lot of our win tonight came from our captain just really playing a really good game.
Yeah, he was fantastic. And, to add off that, Cat, I tweeted this at the end of the game. It's very rare when you see Sidney Crosby get cleaned out on 4 straight faceoffs. He's not just the best faceoff player on the team. He's one of the best in the league. And, I don't usually talk that much about faceoffs on the show because, in the grand scheme of things, they don't, I just don't look at those stats that much. But in late game situations, they matter a lot more, obviously, especially when it's a 1-goal game. But every time, in those final 2 minutes when the big guns were on the ice, Crosby, Malkin, Letang, and Raquel and all those guys, stall against Crosby, face-off win. Stall against Crosby, face-off win. And then it happened 2 more times, and I was just like, wow. And I shouldn't be that surprised because I know Stahl is so good at face-offs, and that was his bread and butter when he was in Pittsburgh too. But I was just like, wow, that's something that the Penguins, they have missed over the years, and I'll never not say a bad word about him. I think
yeah, as a team coach from Rod Brindamore, like we are a face-off team. Honestly, the games that we're struggling in or the games that we lose, we have bad percentage of face-offs. It kind of correlates a whole bunch. But yeah, Stahl normally leads us. If you ever watch, last game with you guys, if you watch us in overtime, Stahl normally comes out there. His number one job is to win the face-off, and then he gets off the ice, and we get new bodies in. So that's, if you watch, like he has a role. I've only seen it not work once. He didn't win the face-off, and then it put us in trouble. But he's really good at it.
Yeah.
It's a bad night when Jordo is missing his face-offs. It's going to be a rough night for the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a menace in that circle tonight. He was just a menace defensively as well. He's been, I can't say enough good things about Jordan Stahl. It's really. One positive I will say about the Penguins, though, for this one, they were able to keep the Hurricanes star players pretty quiet, I would say, for the most part, and they've been doing a good job of that. For the last couple of weeks during this winning streak. Tage Thompson didn't really do anything in the back-to-back. They shut down the Stars top line with Jason Robertson, who I think is the Hart Trophy frontrunner right now, but Sid's right there with him, and then Rupe Hintz. They were able to shut down some of the top players from Vegas and all that, but what was it, do you think, with the Penguins? How do you think they were able to shut down, Svechnikov and Aho, which, led to some of the depth players to step up for the Hurricanes? But, would you just say this was an off night or something for them?
So Aho's actually out. He's been out the last couple of games. No, you're good.
Yeah, sorry.
He's been out last couple of games, and we've had Stasny filling in up at the front. But I would say our stars, even with Aho on the ice, so far this season, our stars have been Natchez and Svech.
Yeah.
And
sorry, that's fine.
Yeah. No, you're good. So it's weird. So they were quiet. Like they definitely had chances. Natchez, if anyone missed it, if you go back and watch like in the first period, Natchez had what could have been like the goal of this year. DeSmith did get that one. That was really good. But like he had it back to the net, pulled it back between his legs and almost tucked it away. And all of us were just like, I would have passed out. I would have been like, we're done. The game's over. Everyone, we're done. But yeah, they had a lot of hustle, but they really couldn't find. So Natchez is our speed. Svech is kind of bodying it. You guys bodied Natchez a whole bunch. Really gave him pressure when he had the puck. He was able to still kind of zip around like he normally does. But yeah, they just weren't getting the shots that they normally do, or like the 2-on-1s or anything like that. So yeah, you guys really focused on shutting them down. I think you guys had some good matchups there. Thankfully for us, as ESPN, NHL, and all of them like to say, is like we don't really have star players. Granted, we don't have a Crosby, but when we don't have a number one player, like a player that scores a whole bunch like that, we rely on a lot of our depth guys. And that's who got our fourth liner got us our first goal. So you guys did really good shutting us down, and thankfully our other guys stepped up to the task. Yeah.
It was very rare when I saw Derek Stepan score. I'm like, wow, I literally almost forgot that he's still getting fourth line minutes.
Got a goal last game. Yeah, he's on a streak now.
Yeah. I was just like, wow, I didn't almost. I always used to know he would always, score a decent amount of goals each year, but I was like, wow, I just did not realize that he's still playing fourth line minutes.
He's our consistent stepdaddy.
There you go. That's a perfect way to say it. That will wrap up this segment, though. Coming up to end the show, I'm going to get into a little bit of the special teams talk because I do think that played a big role in this one because the Penguins' power play, which has been red hot as of late, was shut down for the most part in this one. So stick around for that coming up right after these messages. All right, we're back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I'm your host, Hunter Hodes. That is Cat Hunter, of course. So as I teased coming into the commercial break, Cat, special teams, I do think that was a little bit of a factor as well. Penguins power play coming into this game, 7 straight games with a goal. That's their longest streak, tied for the longest streak that they've had under Mike Sullivan since he took over in 2015. So that unit has just been on a tear these last couple of weeks. But tonight, a Carolina penalty kill that's usually very aggressive from what I've watched against them and other teams. And I think we were talking about this during the game. The one goal that the Penguins scored on the power play, Jacob Slavin, I don't think was on the ice for it because I'm pretty sure he was in the box. And I know he's one of your best penalty killers. So just what do you think the Hurricanes were able to do to really shut down the man advantage, which has been really hot for the Penguins as of late?
Yeah, so our this season it's taken a little time to get back into it, and I think it's because we've had fresh guys and they really needed to learn the system. But our penalty kill, like last year, was I think up at 80%, maybe higher.
Mhm.
They were killing it. But yeah, you're right. Slavin wasn't on the ice. He got his. The only way you're going to get that man in the box is if he accidentally clears the puck out of bounds. Never intentional, of course, but. Yep. So he wasn't on the ice for it. And I mean, this was coming off. I think you guys had, 3 or 4 of your power plays were in that first period and second period. And it just seemed like it was nonstop for a little bit. And it was very nerve wracking. Thankfully we had, I think also what helped with the momentum of the game was, in the first 5 minutes, when you guys did have a power play, we'll talk about him again. Piotr had a really big stop. And I think that just gave us a little bit more life and a little bit more confidence in our penalty kill, which has been doing well. It did. I mean, you guys only got 1 out of 5 on us. Thank goodness, because if you guys had gotten 1 on everyone, it would have been a whole different ball game. And as you can see, our power play didn't do anything tonight, really. So really, I guess the story of tonight is your guys' power play and our penalty kill. Which I mean, I love my defense, so I'll take it. I would love some some power play goals for us, but yeah, honestly, he just does so. Our penalty kill is just so smothering, and he is our heart and our backbone. So when he's not, it's very rare that he's not on it, which is I think led to the big immediate breakdown off of Raquel's goal. Which is great. He's on my fantasy team, so I was excited about that, but then also I don't want that.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you on that. Yeah, the Penguins power play, it kind of went back to some old habits tonight. I didn't really like some of the zone entries they had. They just weren't getting set up like normal. And credit to Carolina. I think their penalty kill is
we
very
hold the
aggressive.
blue line. Yeah,
Yeah,
we hold the blue line tight.
I noticed that a lot tonight. You guys, you don't really collapse down low. You push up a little bit, and that kind of threw the Penguins off a little bit. And it kind of forces them to the corner, and those are easy clears for the opposition. And I'm wondering if you're going to see other penalty kills try to, I guess, duplicate that against the Penguins. But I definitely do think that was a key, reason why the Hurricanes came out in this one. And yeah, the Raquel goal, he continues to stay hot. He's been great ever since he was acquired by Ron Hextall this past year. Excuse me. I didn't really like that term on the contract, but I'm eating a lot of crow on that right now. He's been very consistent. And then the other goal scorer, your former, I'm sure. How do I say this? A former member of the Hurricanes, of course, Brock McGinn. And we were talking about this as well. You say it's almost like every former member of the Hurricane just scores on them, and I can honestly say that about the Penguins as well. It feels like every time a Penguin player leaves the Penguins and goes to another team when they play them, that player just scores. But kudos to Brock. That was a really nice goal that he had. Great rush up the ice by Kapanen to get that going. He looked like a different player on the ice tonight, which is not the case for him usually because he's just not been that good this year. But then McGinn was able to finish that off. He's been on a tear as of late, and I'm sure you're used to that
I see,
as well.
yes, yeah. And I see he's I see. Yeah, it was a bad. it could have been a smart pass, but ended up there was no one there. It was a bad pass from Jarvis, and you guys took advantage of it. And honestly, of course, Brockwood. I mean, I've seen he's also gotten his fair share of the shorthanded goals and empty netter. Like that man, he would anytime we were down a player, we'd be like, once Brock got it, we'd be like, this is great. We're gonna get a goal. Between there was 3 things he was consistent was the shorthanded goals, consistently hitting the post, unfortunately. And that man could take a beating. Like there is barely any time that I've seen him take, like, he would never get off the ice. Like you'll see guys now and they'll go down, you'll be like, oh, I think what's wrong? They're going down the tunnel. I didn't see what happened. Like you would see what happened to Brock and you'd be like, why is he still standing? And he would just keep going. So yeah, it was, I had a little bit of bad jersey luck. This is my new jersey. It's Fetch. He's not going anywhere, but I said I was going to get a Brock McGinn jersey. I was like, it's for sure. We're going to have him. He's going to be a lifelong Hurricane for sure. And then you guys took him. And I mean, it could have been worse. Like he could have gone to the Caps or somebody, but I guess he's okay if he's at the Pens. But yeah, so it's a little sad. I get excited every time he comes back in the building. I'm sure it's a very familiar place to him. But if anyone had to score against us too, I guess it's fine if it's Brock.
Yeah, and I'm glad that he is playing well. You know, he started the season off on a cold streak, but since then, you know, those first couple of weeks, he's been, I think, one of their most consistent bottom 6 players, and it was nice to see him get rewarded with that goal. Last thing I think I do have for you, Kat, we were talking about this as well, and I figured I would bring it up on the show. You know, Sid was kind of shut down a little bit tonight, which is usually not the case for him because he's just been on a tear this season. Is on pace for well over a point per game and is going to, again, tie Wayne Gretzky's record for the most of all time pretty soon. What do you think played into that tonight? Was it just a case of you think Slavin seeing a good dose of him and really shutting him down, or just how did you see it being at the game?
I just didn't see him a whole lot. I would see Malkin a bit. He would be crunching our players. But I just didn't see Sid a whole lot. One of the times I saw, I don't know if it was even on the power play or if it was just a normal shot, but you guys had it down and he was ready to, he was getting down on one knee, ready to just slap it in. And we managed to get a player and Piotr right there to block that one timer from him. And I think that's the most I really saw from him tonight. I didn't, honestly, when I'm there, sometimes I can't really tell what line is matched up to what because I'm just so enthralled with the game. Yeah. But typically, like you guys said, how you guys took down our top guys, kind of like you kind of kept them from not producing. I would say he was probably matched against Slavin and Bernsey. But again, I mean, Shea and Pesci are also they get our most ice time. But normally Slavin is the one that he normally shuts down some of the top. Again, my favorite defenseman. I think the number 1 defensive defenseman in the league. If you follow me on Twitter, I will talk about it all day. But normally he's the one that shuts down the big guns for most teams. But if not him, it was Pesci and Jay. Honestly, they just do a really good job. Unless they make a pretty crucial mistake, they're pretty good at shutting down top players, just like you guys did. So I would guess it was a lot of the matchup. But yeah, again, I didn't really see a lot of and normally you can hear when number 87 has the puck. And I didn't hear that a whole bunch, even though it's majority Carolina. I didn't hear that. So I just don't think I don't know. I don't not want to say he had a bad game. I just didn't notice him as much as where you would want to notice your star player.
Yeah. And I think that's fair. You know, he's going to have games like that during the season and I'm not concerned at all. I mean, he's Sidney Crosby for God's sakes, but you know, he had a couple of, shots on net, I thought, throughout the game. Just didn't threaten as much as he normally does. But, every time he has a game like that, he usually follows it up with one of his best games of the season. So, well,
I mean, I'm happy if he has a game where it's his off game. I'll take it because no one likes to get Crosby'd, which I think happened to us last game. So, yeah, I'll take it. I mean, I'll take a couple less hits from Malkin too. But yeah, I love watching Crosby play. So I just, let him go play that way against other teams.
Yeah. Lucky for you, they have the Rangers coming up on Tuesday. So we'll have to see if they can beat them up because the Rangers won tonight. And that pushes the Penguins down to 4th place in the Metro now as this division continues to be very crowded. I think that
You guys
might
should
do
want some revenge for the playoffs. You guys need to
yeah,
play with some
that's
revenge from the playoffs.
yeah, I think it's going to be a lively crowd. I know some of the crowds have not been that good at PPG this season. I think multitude of reasons, the weather, and there's a lot of construction around the arena. But that's going to be a lively crowd. That's probably going to be one of the better crowds of the season. And I think on Thursday, when I'll be there, I think it's going to be a good crowd as well against Carolina. But I think that will do it though for this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Kat, if you have any other thoughts about the game, you can share them right now, or otherwise I'll just have you plug where all the good fellow listeners can follow your work and your tweets.
Yeah, honestly, it was a great game to start off Christmas break for me. So honestly, I look forward to any time we play the Pens. Hopefully we'll be playing you guys in the playoffs. I would love, again, you said a 7-game series with you guys would be great. Look forward to the next couple of games against you guys. But yeah, besides that, you can follow me on Twitter at Caniac Chick. If you want, it ranges. It's mostly Hurricane stuff. Every now and then it's other NHL things as well. And then you can also follow me if anyone has a TikTok. It's Katergy, Katergy 74 for Jacob Slavin. I just post funny videos about hockey every now and then, and would love to interact with and talk hockey with anyone. And then just if you do follow me, stay tuned because I do have some fun announcements coming up at the end of the year.
Yes, go follow her, please, guys. She's one of my favorite people from hockey Twitter, and yeah, I think that's the best way I can say it. But we'll definitely have to do another one of these during the season, maybe later this week, or potentially for the other game that they have coming up against them as well. But really appreciate you coming on, Kat. This was a lot of fun. And next up for the episode, I will be doing a preview for the Rangers game with John Chick of Locked On Rangers. That is a massive game for the Penguins as the Rangers have all of a sudden caught fire and they are now 1 point ahead of the Penguins, which is just very annoying at this point. It's funny that when the Penguins wanted to start winning, that's when the Rangers started to start winning as well. So this is going to be a sprint, well, until April at least. But again, thank you all so much for listening. I will talk with you all on Tuesday.